when today's topic is about when do we experience blissfulness. So in this session today, we are going to discuss about what is mean by happiness, what is mean by blissfulness, what are all the definitions which were given by the scholars, and what is our basic understanding is about the blissfulness, and how Maharishi's point of view that has been explained in the sort of blissfulness. So this is our agenda for today. So before I get on to the topic, I just want to hear from people in this forum about this experiencing blissfulness. What is your understanding about this question, and what could be the answer for this one? Just I would like to hear from you before I get on to the topic. If you can, please put it in the chat box so that I will have an understanding about what is our common understanding about this blissfulness. Maybe we'll take 10-15 seconds to get answers from you. There is no right or wrong in any of the answers. It is all about food for thought that we always think about it. Contentment, wow, it's a very nice answer from Ayana Challa. Very good. Exactly, that's true. Okay, so in the interest of time, it's a very good answer, by the way. Let's all togetherly think, how do we experience and when do we experience this blissfulness? So before that, I would like to just get the basic understanding of the word happiness. So we know the meaning of this word happiness, which is called pleasure, contentment, as Ayana has said, joyfulness, all the are the synonyms of this word happiness. And the word called blissfulness. What is the meaning of this word? Basically, the meaning of this word is about ecstasy, the felicity, the heavenly contentment. So these are all the basic meaning that we get if you take out any of the dictionaries, right? So what the scholars are saying about this blissfulness? When we ask about this blissfulness to Buddha, he says, when our desire and mind is thinking about one thing, and when we are detached from our attachment, that's where the blissfulness starts for anyone. When we talk about this to Gandhiji, what he says, when anyone who thinks, who says, and who do the same thing, if they are in the same line, that's where a person gets blissfulness in his life. If we go to Western scholars like Aristotle, what he says, when a human being is starting to live his life with good humanity characters, that's where the blissfulness comes for him. And Dalai Lama says, love and compassion are the two main pillars for getting blissfulness in his or her own life. So these are all the greatest definitions which were given by these scholars when we talk about blissfulness. Just we can take in some example of, let's say, a kid who is in the age of 3 to 5 years. When that kid is wanting a toy that he wants to play, if he gets that toy, it's a blissfulness for him. A person or a school going kid who had completed 12th grade and he wants to join a college, what he wanted to join, if he or she get into that college, it's a blissfulness for him. A person who is looking out for a job, and if he or she get into that job, and that makes blissfulness for him. A person who wants to look out for a life partner, if he or she gets the person whom he or she wanted to have, and if they get that, that's a blissfulness for him. And after the marriage, if the life partner listens to each other, that's where the ultimate blissfulness comes from. That's what we normally think, right? So when we see these examples, The blissfulness is something that is actually differs for people, depends on the age, and depends on the situation where they live in, it's get changed. But what about the stable blissfulness? The stable blissfulness is something that I would like to take up a story for this to explain what you mean by stable blissfulness as a common understanding that we all might be having. There was one businessman who was having everything in his life. He had very good family, healthy wise, and he was very wealthy as well. His business was going great. And one thing that at back of his mind was striking him out always that he was missing something in his life. He was trying to get answer for that question all the time, but he couldn't get it. One fine day, there was a Swamiji who had come for that village. So he thought, okay, he can get an answer from him. So he went to that Swamiji and asked his question, Swamiji, I have everything in my life, the wealth, the health, the beautiful family, my business is going great, but I miss something in my life, but I do not know what is that. For that, I would like to get an answer from you. So this was his requirement. Swamiji smiled at him and said, do not worry about it. Let me give you a mud jar along with the closed lid. Take it with you, keep it with you for a month, bring it back to me after a month without breaking it and without opening the lid. This businessman was in a question. I came here to get an answer for my question, but he's asked me to do something else. But he thought, okay, maybe Swamiji will have some another idea because they are sages, right? So he went with that mud jar and he started to do his regular activities for the month without anyone touching the mud jar, without anyone spoiling it, without anyone opening the lid of the mud jar. While doing so, what happened was that he started to help others. This was a new activity that he started to do. Because of that, the people who has got help from him were smiling at him and he saw that happiness from them. Because of that, there was something changed within him that he couldn't identify what was that. So the month passed by. After a month, he went back to the Swamiji and told him what happened in this 1 month. Swamiji smiled at him and told him, can you please open the jar right now? And he opened the jar, and for his surprise, there was nothing inside the jar. And he asked the Swamiji with astonishment, Swamiji, you made me to keep this jar all the time without opening the lid. I thought there would be something that could be the answer for my question, but there is nothing inside. What is this? Then the Swamiji told him that that is what you have got it right now. When you started to help others, the smile that they have got on their face is called happiness. And when you saw that happiness, there was something happened differently within you, was that blissfulness. That's where the answer for your question. Then the businessman realized, oh my God, this is what I was missing all these days. Then he started to do the same thing that what he was doing for the past 1 month, and he led a great life. So this is what the story was all about. From this story, what is the intake for us is that the blissfulness is not something that we get from any materialistic stuff or from anyone. It has to come from within. If you take a butterfly, if you try to get hold of it, it will go off from your hand. But if you start owning your own garden, it will come back to you. That is the same concept of this blissfulness. It is like a TV remote. Normally, the remote should be with us all the time. When we start giving the remote to any other's hand, they might be controlling you. That shouldn't be the case. At any point of time, the blissfulness as like a remote has to be within us. I'm not sure how many of you have read the story about the Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. It's the greatest book given by her. When you all get time, please go through that one. It's a very interesting book. I just want to quote the essence of the book here because it was very related to the topic that what we have taken today. The essence of the book goes like this. When we try to spend energy on others, we spoil our mental happiness, our mental ability as well. Instead, what you can do is turn that to the other side and spend that energy for yourself so that it is increasing your mental ability, your mental happiness, your mental peacefulness. Your boss is not listening to you, he is angry on you, no need to worry. A friend has not invited you for a birthday party, do not worry about it. Everyone in this world are acting upon their consciousness. You don't need to have control on anybody. If we try to control, what happens is that we may get disappointment, we may get anger, we may get worries. To the maximum extent, we may try to even cry as well. No need of all this. If we do not have a control on them, we will be able to avoid whatever the one that I have listed before. So, because of this behavior, what happens is that the bonding between you and the other person is expanded more, and you have a very great harmony with them. Because of that, your self potential is reviewed and your freedom of life is getting changed, and you are able to live a blissful life. This is what the essence about that book called Rhythm Theory. Please read through that when you have time. I just quoted that here because it was very related to the topic that what we have been discussing right now. So in this way, if we take the word called blissfulness, what Maharishi is talking about that. So now whatever the points that we have discussed so far is about the blissfulness concept that everyone will have on our day-to-day life. But what Maharishi is talking about this. So he had given four very important points that talks about feelings. One is about pleasure. The next one is about pain. The third one is peaceful, that is peace. And fourth one is about blissfulness. It is all related to the biomagnetism. So when the income of our biomagnetism is below than the required amount, we feel the pain. And if it is above the required level, we feel happiness. Even that happiness will go off, that may become pain if we enjoy that too much. And peacefulness is something, the income and outgoing of our biomagnetism is neutralized. But what about the definition of the blissfulness that what he had given? Blissfulness is nothing but a stable, a prolonging, non-boring peace is called blissfulness. That is what the definition which was given by Maharishi. So when we are in this blissful state, we are leading a great life throughout. That's what our expectation is also. Okay. Now let's get into a poem of Maharishi. Actually, it was in Tamil. To the best of my knowledge, I tried to transfer that to English so that we all can understand and get the essence of what he's trying to say. For that, I would like to share my screen quickly. Let me know if you can see my screen. I hope you all can see my screen, right?
Yeah, please.
Yes, thank you. So this is the poem that he had given in Tamil, which I have translated to English. So now it's like a food for thought in the morning. Let's all try to get understanding of this poem, and we are going to fill it by our own. So normally we used to ask the kids to fill up the blanks in their academic books, right? So today let's do that exercise so that we can actually refresh the concepts of what Maharishi had given for us, and it will be a food for thought as well. Okay, so the first line, let's try to fill the first line. We can get the answers from the chat box so that we can try to fill it out. So the first line is about when knowing the blank. So in the first blank, I will also give a clue so that we can think together and get an answer for this question. So the clue word for this line would be the another word for realization of divinity. Normally, what we call the divinity, the realization of divinity, how do we call it? Maybe another clue I can give is that we call that as purpose of our life. What is the purpose of our life? The other word, how do we call purpose of life? That is the word that would fit in the first blank. Truth. Great. That's a very nice guess. Any other answers from anyone? Oh, okay. May it is called purpose of birth. So this is the first blank that what Maharishi had given for us. And let's try to think about, let's come back to the meaning of this one by one later, but now let's try to fill in the blanks so that we will get a clear picture about what he's trying to say. So the second line he says, then to reach that limit, that is the purpose of birth, we have been in which state? So the normally there is one state that we always talk in Vedatriyam, that whenever we do any kind of activity, we should be in that particular state. What is that state called? Let's try some guesses now. Exactly. Thank you, sir. Exactly. It is called awareness state. That's the right answer. Awareness state with, okay. There are two main principles that every religion talks about. Can we guess what are all those two? One among them is the answer. There are two main concepts that every religion talks about. What are all those two? If we find what are all those two, one among them would be the answer for the third blank. Exactly. Thank you so much. That's great. I think we are all doing great in filling this blank, I guess. Morality is the exact right answer. Morality. And the fourth blank comes like this. Normally, okay, let's take like this. What is the other word for duty? How we can call that in a normal layman term, normal colloquial English, what we can call it as duty, the other word for the duty. Oh, wow. Thank you so much. It's a great answer. Responsibility. Exactly. Responsibility. That is the correct answer. And the fourth blank, let's try to think about this one. There are two type of purification that we have learned in Vedatriyam. This is the basic thing that we have to do for any kind of realization of divinity or any further level. So what are all those two purification that we have learned in Vedatriyam? Exactly. I got one answer. Deeds. Exactly. That's right. What is the other one? Deeds is the right answer. Exactly. I got the right answer now. So purify mind and deeds. I think I'm getting all great answers. Thank you so much. Okay. Okay, the next blank we can think of: when we understand everyone around us is the resemblance of the divinity. How do we see that one? In which term we call that as? When we realize everyone and everything around us is the resemblance of divinity. So, how do we see that one? Maybe I can give another clue, that is what kind of relationship it is. What kind of relationship that we actually see when we realize everyone and everything around us is the Almighty. Kindness, exactly. Maybe little closure, but still the right word, that what he had used is something else. Love and compassion, exactly. But these are all kind of, I can say, synonyms of what we are trying to achieve. But still, there is a very closure word that Maharishi had given. Maybe I can write that, which is called truth in relationship. That's what Maharishi had mentioned. Truth in relationship. So when we identify anyone around us is the resemblance of God, which is actually the real truth. So truth in relationship, practiced it, realized the high state of, okay, let's come to the the sixth blank, which is about unconditioned love. When we get inner freedom from the materialistic stuff and people, what do we call that state as? Unconditioned love, a holistic thinking, free from, the inner freedom from the people or the materialistic stuff. How do we call that as? We normally try to relate that with some attachment. What is that word called? Realize the high state of ecstasy. Maybe that is the next level of that word. But before that, what we should have? Before that, before to get into that ecstasiness, what could be the step that we can follow? Perfection, that is also related to that one. Yes, yes, yes. Peace, that is also kind of that's the right answer. But Nishkamya karma, okay, that is closely related to the answer. But how do we call that as Nishkamya karma in other word? Maybe we can say in this way. How do we call that Nishkamya karma in other way? In other word, otherwise. Nishkamya karma. Actually, that is closest to the answer. The next clue will be it ends with attachment. What is that called? Dash attachment. What is that attachment called? It's actually related to Nishkamya karma, by the way. Okay, maybe I can write it. It is called detached attachment. Exactly. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's the right answer. Detached attachment. So this is what Maharishi had referred here. Realize the high state of detached attachment, and finally attain the same. Whatever we have put it in the previous sentence, that is the same he's talking about. And at the end, he had given, how can I describe the title? What is the title? How can I describe what is the title that we are discussing today? That is the answer for this line. Blissful, exactly. Thank you so much. It is called blissfulness. This is what the poem is all about. Thank you so much for everyone for getting this greatest answers. And I think now we got to know fair bit of understanding about this poem right now. Thank you so much. So this is the poem for today's topic. It's a hero for now. And now let's think about what Maharishi is trying to say in these main eight essence concept. Let's take the first one, which is called purpose of birth. What he's trying to say in purpose of birth. This is another exercise for us. So we are going to think together and get answer for all these terms here, so that we all get refreshed in our mind, so that we can follow that easily in our life to experience the blissfulness. So purpose of birth, we know there are three main component of purpose of birth. What is that? Can we name them? In the same way how we had answered the poem, we can try to get answer for this as well. Perfection, exactly. Perfection in sixth sense, we can say. And what is the next one? Maybe the next clue will be what is the ultimate aim for us to be in Vedatrium. And also there is the third word which talks about relation to the topic that we are discussing today. So second is about what is ultimate aim for us to be in Vedatrium and what we are learning from Vedatrium, the ultimate thing. What is the purpose of our birth? The realization of divinity. Realization of divinity. And what about yes, everlasting happiness, exactly. That is called blissfulness. Thank you so much. Blissfulness. So these are all the three main factors that actually constitute for purpose of birth. So what he's trying to say, so in the realization of divinity, what we understand, anything, everything around us is the resemblance of God. We should help them as much as possible without harming anyone. That is what our ultimate goal in our life. For that, what we need to do, we need to get the perfection in our sixth sense. How do we do that? When we understand, though the karma is pushing back to us to do the wrong thing, but we have to get a clear understanding about what we need to do right with the help of our meditation and the introspection, and do the right thing that will make us to go in the way of wisdom. That is where the perfection of the sixth sense comes into picture. Because of that, what are we going to lead? We are going to live a happy blissfulness life. So that is the purpose of birth. That is the definition that we can give for purpose of birth. So what is about awareness state? For this one, we can relate to one of the main thumb rule that we always what we have in Vedatrium, which is called some theory that talks about awareness state. So whenever we do any kind of action, we always keep our mind in our Agna and Duriam to make sure whatever I'm doing is right and which is going to give me a great result without harming anyone and even me as well. So what is the theory is called in Vedatrium, which talks about this awareness state? A thumb rule, we can say, this is a very base concept that Maharishi had given us, which start with cause. Maybe the next word you can guess, I guess, exactly. Cause and effect theory. So this cause and effect theory is a basic thumb rule that we should keep in mind when doing any kind of activities in our regular life, which will make us to lead a great life. Okay, let's move on to the morality. So morality talks about main three major components. What are all those? Which talks about main three components, as we all know, that is very base, exactly. Duty. I have got one answer. What are the other two? Morality is the main thing. Under that, we have something else as well. It is, yeah, charity, exactly. And the other one is about, under morality, there is one more. Can we say moral principles? These are all the three main components under morality. The moral principles, as we know, whatever the activity that I do should not harm me physically or mentally, and also it should not harm others and me as well, and it should not give any pain now and then. So, like that, I have to define my duties and do it. This is the basic moral principle that we should keep in our life. And the duty, as we know, we have five kind of duty: duty to self, duty to family, duty to the relations, duty to the society, and duty to the world. So, without any contradiction, we will have to do the duty, depends on the need wherever it is applicable. And charity, as we know, we have to help each other as much as possible. Discipline, exactly. Discipline is the other word for moral principle. We can say that as discipline also. Yes. Thank you so much for the answer. Okay, now let's come to the responsibility. Responsibility, as we discussed before in the poem, it is not, it is actually to the duty, but what kind of duty it will be? For this one, we will have to understand the realization of divinity. So, when we understand and mingle with the divine, we will be able to do this duty on day to day life. So, the responsibility here, it's not for the namesake. For example, when my husband is asking for a coffee at midnight, 12 o'clock, I should not hesitate and give him the coffee. I should not feel bad that he's asking coffee at midnight, 12 o'clock. No. If how I'm going to serve the same to Almighty, in the same way, I should do it for Him. If I have that thought in my mind, then I'm doing my duty. If it is just for the sake I'm doing it, it is not the responsibility. So it is called divine realization, we can call it as, and mingling with Him. This is how we should act on our day to day life. Whoever we meet, whoever we interact with, when we understand they are also resemblance of the divine, we have to do our duty in that state. Exactly, service. Yes, that is also related to that word called service. So, this has to be for responsibility and mind purification. So, what is the uh, mind purification talks about? Mind purification, basically, if I could say, this actually would come here, the divine realization and mingling with it. That is called mind purification. Here, doing the duty with divine realization and not for namesake. So, when we talk about mind purification, when we understand the divinity and when we mingle with Him, the more closer we go near to the divine and we are mingling with Him. That can be achieved only with the help of the meditation and introspection. Normally, we say, right, The God is always on the other end of the mind. When we realize and mingle with Him, we get the mind purification. So, what is the result of this mind purification? It is the deed purification. What is that about? In the deed purification, normally we used to say this in all our meditation at last, saying the two principle. What is the two principle? That we used to say in all our meditation at the end, the two principles. Can we call that as that I will not harm anyone to the maximum extent possible? I will help others. What is that called? Twofold moral principles, right? So we will have to adhere to this twofold moral principle to make sure that I'm purifying my deeds. This is the very best way to remove our karmas, that whatever we have in our life. Exactly. That's correct. Good deeds with duty consciousness, not to give pain. That is called twofold moral principles. And the truth in relationship. The truth in relationship is about observing and treating everyone in the state of Almighty, which is called truth in relationship. We can call that as synthesis. How do we call that word as actually? When we identify anyone and everything around us is the resemblance of Almighty, how do we call them as? Actually, that concept is called synthesis reasoning. In Tamil, we call it as Pahuttunarvil Tuhuttunarvu. So, meaning, I know the person who is asking coffee at the midnight 12 o'clock is also a resemblance of the Almighty. A person who is giving me pain in my office, also a resemblance of the divinity. So, when we understand that, and we should know how to behave with them, there is no need to get angry on them at any point of time. If we are doing that, so then we are actually adding more karma, the negative karmas to our luggage. When we don't do that, we are actually going in the right way. So we should always have this truth in our relationship all the time from day to night. And the last one is about the detached attachment. In this detached attachment, we normally in a condition of unconditioned love, right? How do we say that as unconditioned love? And free from the inner freedom. We can call it as inner freedom from people, from materialistic stuff. So, this is what about detached attachment, right? When we have all these qualities that what he had listed in the poem, do you think that will not be able to lead a life with the blissfulness? For me, the answer is no. Definitely, we will be able to lead a great life if we follow this concept that what Maharishi had given in this poem. For example, if you see, do you think is there any concept that was not taught? Maybe the major concept I'm talking about, the major concept which is missed in this poem, for me, the answer is no. Whatever the essence, the basic thing that what we need to know about in Vedatriyam is all given here. That is the greatest thing about this poem, that what Maharishi had given for us. So, what he's trying to achieve here is with the purpose of our life. Let's go back to this poem just to read, to put that in subconscious mind. When knowing the purpose of life, the purpose of birth, which is attaining the completeness in our sixth sense, realizing the divinity, and having a blissful life, then to reach that limit has been in the awareness state, meaning when I do any kind of action, I should be in Agnanturiam to make sure that I'm doing the right thing with the responsibility, not for the name's sake. By identifying and observing the person whom I'm interacting with is the resemblance of God and doing my duty with that aspect. And I'm purifying my mind by realizing and mingling with the God, and I'm purifying my deeds as well by following the twofold principle to make sure I'm not giving pain to anyone and I'm not taking pain as well. To the maximum extent, I'm helping others and realizing the truth in all the relationship, whomever I meet in my daily life, in office, professional life, or at home, or at outside in the society, and I'm practicing it and realize the high state of detached attachment, meaning with unconditional love, I am trying to achieve the things in my life with a holistic approach by considering all of them in the same stage to make sure that I am giving the right decision for everyone. And finally, attain the detached attachment. How can I describe the blissfulness? So, what Maharishi is saying, when he is actually experiencing in all this, how come the blissfulness will not come into our life? It would be, right? But thing is that to check this and to know about this, it looks very easy, but it is little hard if you do not practice it. So what happens is that the karma is always trying to take a place to pull us back all the time, but we should actually do an opposite swimming to make sure that I'm actually winning my karma with the help of my consciousness. The train will be off track after the repair, it is putting back to the track, right? In the same way, how the rainwater takes its always the old way to go to the destination, but if we want to reroute that, we have to take another way for the rainwater to go to the destination. So whenever it comes the next time during the rainy season, it will take the new way. In the same way, the neuron network in our brain has been habituated for the old stuff that what has been done all these years, though it was wrong. But the same mind only can be tweaked to do the right thing with the help of the meditation and introspection. So, what happens? The neuron network can be changed to do the right thing. When we are able to hold the wrong thing, why can't we able to hold the right thing, which is done by the same mind? Definitely, we will be able to do that. Just think of it. I just want to share one of my practical example that what I had before a week, or I think a month, I guess. I used to go for a park near my home, and there was one mom and girl who was coming to the park, and they were so happy just to walk, jog, and do something in the park. So whomever they met when they were going for jogging, they also started to jog with them. When they were going for walking, they also were walking with them. When someone was dancing with the light music, they also started to dance with them. When someone was meditating, they also started to meditate with them. They did not bother about anyone who was around them, and they started to live the present moment. I was so astonished to see both of them. And what is the intake for us from here is that we should live our life at the present. No need to put too much of things in our mind. What would happen? What could be happening? And what is right? What is wrong? No need to think too much. Under our control, what can be done? That can be controlled. No need to have a control on others, which is not in our hand. Live the life very simply. Always, let's be better than yesterday. If you see a photo album, whatever you have seen in your childhood memories will be always giving a great pleasure. In the same way, we have to live our life after 30, 40 years. If you want to take this life as an album, you should see good memories which make you smile all the time. And there is a proverb which says, the elephant before it comes, the bell sound rings, right? In the same way, when someone is thinking about you, before your visit come into their mind, the good deeds, what you did for them, should come into their mind. That's how our life should be. We will have to design in that way. Just take this tree, which actually faces all the four seasons. In the monsoon, what happens? It is very beautiful and it gives a lot of flowers and fruits. When it comes to summer, in the month of June, July, it faces too much of heat, and in the autumn or fall season, it's shedding all its leaves, and in the winter, it faces the coolest climate. But again, when the monsoon period comes, it actually coming back to the original state. And also it does the job of giving air to the people, whoever is under it, whether it is good or a bad person, doesn't care about. And it does only with the love and compassion. And even if you cut the tree, it is being used for making wooden furnitures. Is that expecting anything from us? No. In the same way, with love and compassion, whatever we do, we should be able to check, how am I helping others in my life? That is what our main motive should be. And change is the only thing which will never change. If you take this Maharishi's poem, I just want to reiterate before we conclude this session. I hope you all can see the screen, right?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Maharishi had mentioned these four places: when knowing the purpose of birth, when purified mind and deeds, realize the high state of detached attachment, and finally attain the detached attachment. In these four places only, he talked about the blissfulness. Meaning, when we do all these in these four places, we get the blissfulness. But as per my understanding goes with this poem, I strongly believe that when we follow whatever he said in this poem, we will be able to live a blissful life. We will experience the blissfulness even every single minute of our life and throughout our lifetime. So, the answer for the question for today's topics: when do we experience blissfulness? Every single moment and throughout our life, we will be able to experience the blissfulness if we follow what he had given in this poem. So, change is the only thing which will never change. Let's be the change, and the year is going to get an end. And starting from next week, we are going to have a new beautiful year in 2026. So let's try to implement as much as possible that what Maharishi had left us to know and to implement. Let's all try to do that, to have a blissful life, so that we will be able to experience the blissfulness in our life throughout the time, and we can make others also to have a blissful life in their lifetime. Thank you so much for this great opportunity. I wish everyone to be blessed by the divine, and let's all be blessed with prosperity, wisdom, and happiness. Thank you so much.